And a very good evening to you. I'd like to welcome you to our 30 at 7:30. It may be more like 5 at 7:30 tonight. I am recording this on Wednesday afternoon because I have a prior commitment tonight, and so I decided that I had better come on and talk with you just for a few minutes. And I thought about a scripture passage tonight that's found in James chapter 4. And there's a lot of fighting and a lot of arguing, a lot of stuff going on right now, especially in the middle of this pandemic. There's a lot of mental stress, and so people's nerves are more frayed than ever. But we're also seeing more than ever people talking about how they want things their way. And in James chapter 4, James says this in verse 1, "What is causing the quarrels and fights among you? Don't they come from the evil desires at war within you? You want what you don't have, so you scheme and kill to get it. You're jealous of what others have, but you can't get it, so you fight and wage war to take it away from them. Yet you don't have what you want because you don't ask God for it." Now, what he's talking about here, as he's talking about the source of quarrels and fights and even wars, has to do with somebody wants something that the other person has, and because they haven't done what they need to do to get it, rather they want to take it away from them. That's where we're at today. There is so much out there where people are, I want it my way, I want this, I deserve this, I deserve that, I deserve to have all of these particular things, and you can fill in the blank because of where I live, because of where I was born, because of what I didn't get, because of the privilege that I have or the privilege that I didn't get. It's absolutely crazy. And I watch Christians get sucked into it, especially online. There is so much going on in politics right now. And I have said to people over and over and over again, I'm right now with the pandemic and the way church is, I'm thankful that I don't have to go to the back door, because every week, especially during election time, whoever the incumbent was, one person would say to me on the way out, we'll be better off if they get beat. I hope they get out of office. And then another person would come in behind them, like two people away, and say, you know what, I hope they get reelected. And it was just like, and it's always 50-50. It's always that. And each side claims Jesus. Each side claims that they have the right answer because the particular candidate they're supporting them because that candidate seems to support the things that they want. And we don't really operate anymore from a place of what's best for us as a whole. How can I serve you? And yet that's exactly what Jesus did with the disciples. They were so preoccupied in John chapter 13 with who was going to be number one in the kingdom. So much arguing going on among them that they all failed the night of the Passover when Jesus was going to eat the Passover with them. They failed to get somebody to wash the feet of everyone. They failed to do it themselves. So much so that it was forgotten that Jesus rose up and started to wash their feet while they were all talking, arguing about what they wanted, who was number one, why they were more important than the other person, and on it went. And Jesus bowed down and started washing their feet. That is an incredible metaphor. Some churches have taken it to mean that we should be into foot washing. Just so you know, I'm not doing that. I love you all, but I ain't washing your feet. Now, they did this, then for hygienic purposes and for other reasons, and it was a custom. But the principle behind it that Jesus was teaching, that we've talked about before, is he taught that the way to up is down. The way for you to be exalted is to serve. The way for you the best way for you to achieve what your purpose in life is to serve. When I ask the question, how can I serve? And by the way, you can ask the question, how you serve. And if you start serving, by the way, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to love you or agree with you. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter who the President of the United States is. Why on earth would you want that job? Especially now. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, they're going to take shots at you. I can go on Twitter at any given moment, and again, I'm not going to argue the politics, the right, the left, the center, the libertarian, the Green Party, the social. I'm not arguing any of that, okay? And I'm sure that each candidate, each incumbent will say silly or dumb things that will bring it on themselves. Some more than others, but that's what happens. I can go on Twitter right now and find somebody that either Donald Trump or Joe Biden right now, when this is being recorded, is trending for some reason. And it's going to be some form of attack on something that they said. And I thought to myself, why would you do that? Why? I mean, I know, and honestly, some of them really do believe that they're serving, and they know that when it comes to serving, you're going to have critics. You're going to have people that are going to take shots at you. And the people that are doing this are the people that James says, listen, they don't have what you have, so they want to take it away from you. In other words, they're not asking how can they serve. They want to keep you from serving. Because they don't have that position, because they don't have that power, because they don't have that perspective. And so understand that when you are serving, when you decide to wash feet, or whatever it is that you do, to teach a class, to lead a study, to help the homeless, to visit widows, to raise funds for some social cause, to be a missionary, to use whatever gifts and talents and abilities that you have to help somebody else. Remember that when you're serving, there will always be a critic. If there's not, you're probably not doing your job right. If somebody doesn't agree with you, if somebody's not criticizing you, you may not be doing your job right. Because it's always going to tweak someone. You don't even have to deliberately do it. They're going to get ticked because you are serving. And yet, Jesus gave us that example. The religious leaders were always the ones that were trying to take away everybody's freedom. Take away, take away, take away, take away, take away. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And they were manipulating. And Jesus always came back at them and said, no, that's not how it is. Because they were trying to manipulate for their own reason. And for their own profit. How can we serve? That's really, people want to talk about coming to church. Oh, the church is, when are we going to open church? But church has been open, folks. It's been open. It hasn't been meeting in groups. We have been here because we figured out how to do it. And thankfully so. But you know what? The church is open. Why? Because the church is called to serve. You're His church. You are God. You are the hands and the feet of Jesus in this world. So take your gifts, your talents, and your abilities and start using them to serve right where you are. So often we're looking for bigger opportunities down the road. We're saying, well, but maybe I'm going to look over here to serve. And yet Jesus has given you an opportunity right where you are, right in your neighborhood, right in your family, right out your back door, right around you. He's given you that opportunity to serve. And just imagine if we, as God's people, woke up every day and said, okay, how can I serve today? What am I grateful for? How can I serve? What can I do to serve somebody else today? You say, well, what about me, though? I'm going to get lost in that, and there's stuff that I want to accomplish. You're already asking the wrong questions. Because I'm going to tell you something. When you serve, when you're on, when you're doing your thing, there's nothing like it. I am fulfilled when I'm doing what God's called me to do. And there's nothing like that. It's exhausting. It's exhilarating. It can be disappointing. It can be debilitating sometimes, but always, 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 always fulfilling. God wants to do that with us. He wants you to do that today, tomorrow, next week, next month. There's somebody that is around you, somebody that's in your life, somebody that you have has been put in your path for you to be able to minister to. I was just got an invitation to present at the Florida Initiative for Suicide Survivors Conference this year again. And last year in November, we were away in Tennessee when I had that crazy episode with my high blood pressure and subsequently lost all the weight, and been focusing on my health a little bit more. And they asked me to do this year. Said, hey, I hope your health is better, because I had to cancel last year. Well, we know what's happened this year, and so now they're scheduling this virtually. So now I'm going to be doing a virtual thing, and the question's always, if people don't know what you're doing, are you comfortable doing this virtually? I know this is tough. I'm thinking, man, I can connect it, whatever it is, we can connect. And so it's a privilege for me to be able to go and to speak to these folks and to be with them in this very difficult time. Listen, that's not going to fulfill you. You may be thinking to yourself, that's so deeply sad that you're dealing with people who've lost loved ones. For it is sad. But for me, it's fulfilling, because I know I get to use whatever knowledge, gifts, talents, and abilities I have at that moment to seek to help them to cope a little bit better, to cope and have hope, to let them know this is not the end, and that it's deeply sad, and they're trying to make sense of it and trying to figure it out. But on the other side of pain, on the other side of that pain, out of it, may come something different where they can help somebody else. There's nothing like, and by the way, that's another spot to look for your purpose, is in the pain. Not in the pain, but out of the pain. Sometimes out of those painful times in our lives is something is shaping us through that struggle. We're being shaped to do something different. We're shaped for significance. And so always be looking to serve. Always be looking to help. Mr. Rogers. I loved Mr. Rogers growing up. Mr. Rogers, there's a quote, I don't have it with me right now, but he talked about look for the helpers. We look for trouble. We look for struggle. We look for arguments. He says look for the helpers. Look for the helpers and find them. And you know what? You look for a helper, but you also be a helper. Use your gifts, talents, and abilities to serve. Tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Because somebody needs what you're able to give them. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As I said, it wasn't quite 30 minutes or 30 at 7:30. It's more like what I'm looking at right now, about 12 or 13 at 30. But thank you for joining us. We'll be back again soon, this coming Sunday. As a matter of fact, make sure you, if you haven't given us your email address, send us your email address and your cell phone number if you want to be included in the text messages. And make sure you join us Sunday for another message. We'll see you soon. Thank you much.